guys, how's it going? Today I'm working on a new project. I'm going to be remaking this flower bed area. So I kind of want to show it to you in stages because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I get an area that just kind of overwhelms me. Like I don't really know exactly what I want to do with it, what I want this overall style to look like in the end. And that's okay. Sometimes you just have to fly into a project and start it in order to kind of have everything fall into place. So I thought I would show you kind of the steps that I take when I'm redoing an area. So first of all, I want to show you what I've got going, and that's the first thing I do. I assess the area. So right behind me, this is the back of my potting shed. So there's some things that I just want to make sure not to cover up. I love this old window. This window actually flips out so I can have it open in the summertime. Last year I had a real pretty flower arrangement on the windowsill. It was really cute. I also have this, which you might remember from last year. We did a video on building a branch, like a trellis out of branches. And that's what I put here along with a Happy Jack clematis. So I've since replaced the willow trellis because I was given this as a gift, this really pretty iron trellis, and I didn't really know where else to put it, so I just put this one in its place. But the clematis is doing fantastic. You guys, last year it was like this tall and just, you know, it was small. It was a 1 gallon size plant. And this year it's just grown like crazy. There's buds all over it. So this is another thing I don't want to cover up. So I want to be careful when I'm building forward to keep that in mind. I also have this right here, which this area is super dark at night if I didn't have a lamppost. Erin got me a pair of these for Christmas years and years ago. This company doesn't make these anymore, and I love them. It's one of my favorite gifts I have ever received. Also to the left of me here is a giant elm tree. This is the last of the elm trees that's going to come out, but it's not going to happen probably this year. Maybe next year. So I have to keep that in mind. So I have to think, okay, the plants I put in this area right now, they're getting pretty good filtered shade through the day. Are they going to still get shade once this tree is gone? Even though I do plan on coming in with a big tree and replacing it, as soon as this one's gone, I'll put another tree in its place. But still, it won't be this big. But you guys, I don't know if you can see all of the dead in this tree. There's tons of dead branches. It makes me really nervous during windstorms because elm trees just do not do well in my area. I mean, they do well enough to get going. They grow and they grow fast. They grow like weeds, but then eventually they start dying out like this one here. And it also throws seeds everywhere, which, I mean, if you've watched our videos, you know how I feel about elm trees. So that's one issue. Right here, I've got a row of daylilies and kind of this random row of blocks in here. There's blocks on that side and on this side. Right here. And it may have served a purpose at some point, but it doesn't really make sense to me anymore. Also, I don't even know what color these daylilies bloom. So I think what I'm going to do, Dexter's in a really playful mood right now. I think what I'm going to do is dig these out. I might leave these front ones, but this clump right here, I'm going to dig out and rehome somewhere else in the garden. Also, you can see my beehive is right here. There's a little bit of activity. It's actually cooler and like gray today, which is beautiful for garden work. So the bees aren't quite as active as they are on a hot day. This is the side of the bed I probably will not be tackling in this project. So that's the other thing. You do not have to do everything at once. I rarely do everything at once. I just take a little chunk, try to tackle it, get it done, and then move on to the next area. So at one time, this little pathway may have led all the way through this arbor. But this part of the pathway leads right here, like right into the evergreen. And I love this arch. These are cypress that have been trained into an arbor, but they are starting to die out. It looks like they've been here for a really long time. So that's something I'll probably take out and put climbing roses in, something that provides some color. And there's actually an iron trellis that's beautiful inside this little archway. But like I said, this is an area I will tackle later, and I'm going to be making sure to put in lots of bee-friendly plants. I want lots of flowering perennials that my bees will like. Also, the last thing in this area I wanted to talk about was this mound. So I've been asked quite a bit in videos when this is in the background. You guys are like, what is that big pile of green? Or in the winter, it looks like a big pile of sticks. This is actually the roof to our root cellar. So underneath our potting shed, there's a set of stairs in there. It goes down and there's a little root cellar, and then that little concrete pipe right there, that's the air access to it. So this is basically a mound of dirt for the roof, and then there's silver lace vine planted on the top just to cover it and make it look soft and green. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do, the first thing I always tackle after I look at my area is the lines. Do I like the lines of the front of the bed? Does the shape make sense? It looks like it comes out really nicely here, but then right about at this block, it takes off in a really sharp line. And I think I would like to just bring these out slightly, just like kind of follow my foot here, like kind of bring them out slightly to where it's a little bit more of a gradual swooping bed. I'd like to bring them out about to here, and I'll also come around, and I'll do this section in another video, but I actually want to landscape around the front of the potting shed. There are no flower beds around the front. So today I'll probably just go to about here and just tackle this area. So I guess at this point, all I need to do then is just start moving stuff around. I'm going to redefine the front of the bed, and then we'll talk plants. Before I start in on the plants, I just want to explain what I've done so far. So first of all, I took the bricks, little blocks here, and I bumped them out, and I went out, you know, as far as like maybe 1.5 feet in some areas, and just made it more of a gentle curve. I really like the new line of it. And you guys, I'm not like a huge fan of these, but I need to keep something in there that creates a barrier between the flower bed and the driveway. I think eventually I'd like to come in with some little flat gray rocks and make a little like stone wall. I think that'd be really pretty. But this is great for now, this will work. And then I took out the bricks that were right along here and along there. I dug out the daylilies that were here. And then there is an existing drip system, but it wasn't, obviously, since I moved these blocks, it wasn't going far enough forward. So I just added a couple of tees and added a little swoop of drip, and then added this little drip to fill kind of this little hole here. So now before I plant, I'm going to kind of fill up this area with planting compost, kind of level it out a little bit, then it'll be ready to go. Got the planting compost in and all kind of leveled out, and I'm really enjoying the way this looks, just having the blocks redone. It makes me feel completely different about this space. So now I can tackle the planting aspect. So this area has kind of a natural back to it, which is nice. So I'm planning on planting in layers. So I'll start taller and kind of work my way down toward the edge where I'll have my shortest layer in there. And the first thing I look at is bone structure or winter interest. What in this spot will still be beautiful to look at when there's snow on the ground, there's nothing else green, what will be pretty? So I decided, since the only real evergreen element I have in this space is that evergreen arch, which is probably going to end up going, I needed to add an evergreen element. So I decided to add this Isley fastigiate columnar blue spruce. These are a great plant, and I actually plan on putting together more of a highlight video just about this plant. It'll come out after this landscape kind of makeover video. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about this spruce, stay tuned for that video. So I'm just gonna get it planted so we can move on to the next plant. The evergreen is planted. I love it. I think it's the perfect anchor piece, the perfect winter structure for this space. So now I'm going to start working on the next layer down. I'm going to go grab 3 hydrangeas and place them in here and see how they look. So these are called Little Quickfire, and you guys, I wish these had blooms on them right now because they are absolutely gorgeous, but it's a really good time to plant. It's still early. It's not even early summer, it's late spring still, so it's still cool out, so it's a better time to plant. It's less shock on the plant. And it's kind of faith in planting. You know, you don't want to just go to the garden center and only buy the things that are in bloom right now. You want to plan your space out to where you have blooms all the time. You want to be able to enjoy color throughout the whole season. The good thing about the Little Quickfire is that they actually start blooming about a month before all the other hydrangeas do. So you get to enjoy them for a month longer than the rest of the hydrangeas. And there's another plant called Quickfire. So there's the Quickfire and the little Quickfire. Quickfires get really good size. The little Quickfire is just a dwarf version. So these get between 3 and 5 feet tall and wide. And I'll probably keep them on the 3-foot side of things just because I don't want to cover up the window or the evergreen or the lamppost, because this is something I think is really pretty back here, especially when this forms kind of a little ring around it. I think it's going to be really, really gorgeous. The other good thing about this plant, they're a Hydrangea paniculata, which means that they're in the group of hydrangeas that bloom on new wood. So I can go in and prune them late winter or early spring, and I know they'll still bloom for me every single year if I prune them at that time. So the blooms start out white, and then they start aging to a pink and kind of a deeper rosy pink red. So they have a beautiful progression of color, and I think that pinkish red is going to look really pretty with this blue evergreen in the background. So I'm just going to get them all planted, and then we'll start working on the next layer. So hydrangeas are in, and I think that they look really great. So now I'm going to start working on my perennial layer, so my shorter layers. And I think I know what I'm going to do, but I'm not positive. Let me show you what I'm thinking. So I've got several of both of these kinds of perennials, and so I think that this is what I'm going to use. These are our white wands of Veronica, which I'm so glad they still have a little bit of color on them. They're almost bloomed out. But honeybees love this plant, and this happens to be really close to my beehive. So I thought it'd be really great if I could incorporate some of these. And then I have some Primo Wild Rose Heuchera, which will be available next spring. They're absolutely gorgeous, and I think even more so when you pair them with the color of the blooms on the hydrangea. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a few of these, kind of set them around in this area, maybe move them a little bit, and get an arrangement that I like. All right guys, I think I've got it the way I like it. I think it's gonna be a perfect stair step of height. These Heucheras will get about 8 to 10 inches tall. Then the Veronica get about 14 to 16 inches. And then of course we'll have the hydrangeas back behind all of it, which these are small now, but they will be bigger. And then the evergreen. And I think that this area gets just enough sun and just enough shade to keep everything happy. It's kind of one of those odd spots. And I don't know if you guys have one of those in your garden where like this side gets a lot more sun than this side over here, but it's still filtered. I don't know, so I couldn't do like 100% shade, but I didn't really want to do 100% sun either. So, you know, and sometimes we put in a new area and we need to adjust a little bit. It happens. So I'm gonna put all this stuff in and we'll see how it does. I'll keep an eye on it. I may need to shift some of these Veronicas over. That's totally fine, I'm good with that. But I really like the placement of them because I didn't really want everything in a straight line, you know? I mean, I did do the front just because I thought it was striking. Actually, Aaron especially likes the front being just a uniform color. But then back here, I kind of did kind of an undulating wave so that it's not like soldiers lined up straight in a row. So I'm gonna get them all planted and then we'll see kind of the finished product. All right guys, check it out. I love how it turned out. I cannot wait for the hydrangeas to grow up because I think with those, you know, kind of filling in that background area, it's gonna be perfect. I didn't really mention a lot about these perennials that I put in here, so I thought I would share just a few stats with you. So the White Wands Veronica is a zone 4 through 8. So a nice tough perennial. It'll survive winter temperatures down to -30. And then like I mentioned earlier, if you remember to shear them back right after their first bloom, they will rebloom again. And the honeybees love them. They just were thick on them when they were in full bloom, and they're still, I can see honeybees still on them. And then this Primo Wild Rose Heuchera is a zone 4 through 9. And I think the contrast between this beautiful deep purple foliage and the green foliage with the bright white blooms is really, really pretty. And then the bloom stalks on these are gorgeous. They have these rosy pink blooms. I just think this whole area is gonna be gorgeous with the white hydrangea blooms that turn pink throughout the season. And then we've got the white and then the beautiful pink blooms here and the purple foliage. I don't know, I just really love it. I think it's a really pretty area. So I really just hope that this video was an encouragement to you guys. If you have an area in your yard you just don't know what to do with or that overwhelms you, I hope that kind of seeing the thought process behind how I tackle an area like this was helpful. So like, first off, reassessing your lines, deciding whether or not you like the way it looks, if it needs to be smaller or bigger, or you know, if things need to be removed, and then starting with your bone structure, your winter interest, and then kind of stair-stepping down with some other beautiful things. And then something else to keep in mind, this area is not done because I don't have anything for spring interest in this spot yet. So that is something I'll be fixing this fall. Once like tulips and daffodil bulbs start showing up at the garden center, I will be tucking some in this area so that I'll have all seasons of interest. I'll have spring with the bulbs, I'll have summer, I'll have fall with the beautiful foliage. Then of course I'll still have something here in the wintertime. So that's it guys, thanks so much for watching and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.